Hello, my name's host Eric. I'm here with some famous peoples in the room. Host Trenton's here, Eccentric M, Eric, JC, Megabro, and Claudia and Callum also listening. So, what I'd like to talk about is barriers to play. My life has been devoted inadequately to dismantling barriers to play. Because the first thing I did in my life was internalize the notion that I shouldn't be allowed to play. And I've had to rid myself of those lies. That in fact I should never have to not play is the actual correct statement. I should, and everybody else should say, I play the same thing to everybody else too, to the extent they want this, right? For me, I understand very clearly I am happiest if I can just play all the time. And so I should just play all the time then. I shouldn't have to ever do anything I don't want to do. And I know most people think that sounds crazy. But I think it's called how everybody should be, to the extent that they can. I mean, I'm not saying it's like that for me. I'm saying I'd like it to be like that for me. Right now I'm on summer vacation. You know, I'm not working at my debate business. I have one day a week right now that I have a couple hours. But basically I'm taking the summer off. So I'm available to sit here and play all day. But that's not standard operating procedure for me. Obviously, I have to make a living as well. Obviously, I'm not making a living on talking with famous people. But in general, I have to work some. So my theory is when I do get a chance to play, I used to be very, very frustrated because I couldn't find anybody to play with me. And nowadays, it's fantastic because people play with me all the time. And here are the barriers to play that I saw in various people when I try to suggest yet another really cool, fun idea that people are too busy or, well, I don't know. I mean, tell me more about it. It's this thing I heard about. Let's go. What do you mean tell you more about it? I don't know what it is. Let's just go and find out. I hate that shit. So anyway, here are the 4 barriers to play that adults often have, and I think we need to, as adults, to get rid of these barriers. Number 1 is fear of failure. Adult play tends to involve some sort of a making thing, at least for me it does, or I don't know what other people do when they play, but that's what I do. So a lot of times if I say, oh, come make something with me. Oh, I know, let's build an adobe house in the front yard. I've got some poo, you bring some straw, we'll be good to go. Well, the other person might think, this is a bad idea. It sounds fun, but I have a feeling this adobe house is gonna come out so shitty. It sounds fun. You just have to stop talking right there. Stop talking and thinking right there. It sounds fun, just go ahead and fucking do it, you know? And then maybe your adobe house will come out cool, and maybe it'll come out shit. It doesn't matter. The point is, it sounds fun. I'd like to build an adobe house right now. I'm gonna go around the neighborhood and look for poo. Okay. Fear of expectation is the second barrier to adult play. By adult play, I do not mean sex stuff. I just mean adults, like, playing. So, fear of expectation. Adults don't want to get into something where they might find there's obligations or expectations being imposed upon them, stuff like that. I get that. I have that as well. I don't like to be subject to expectations. But in my mind, the solution is for everybody to just realize that whatever everybody expects, it doesn't matter anyway, because whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But people don't like that. They want to know what to expect, so they want to avoid being expected of things. But you know, when I say let's play, I don't actually expect anything of anybody. I'm kind of hopeful and just sort of, I've got things over there. I'm watching vaguely at the corner of my eye. Oh, maybe that'll start doing something, and then I'll just go play over there some more. You know, it's like that kind of a thing. And then, so I agree, expectation bad, but I don't think that the fear of expectation is warranted because we can all play without expecting things of each other. Number 3, fear of relations damage. So some people think, well, if this playing doesn't go well, then now I'm going to have trouble with Eric or something. No, you won't. I just want to, it can't not go well. If it starts being shitty, then it'll just manifest into something else because it'll be boring and then things will just happen. That's the way the world works. And then the fourth one is fear of feeling foolish. So there's lots of things in which people are afraid of feeling foolish. I always say, well, just start singing, whatever. to whoever I'm jamming out with, and they never do. And the reason is because it might be bad, or they might sound foolish. Well, of course it might be bad, and of course they might sound foolish, but that's okay. And in fact, if you don't allow yourself to sound bad and feel foolish, then you never can sound good or feel counter foolish. All right, so those are my 4 subtypes of adult barriers to play. Any comments or questions or thoughts? Well, I think we're a fairly playful room. I think that everybody here manages to find sufficient time for play. So perhaps that's why we all aren't jumping on saying, "Yeah, I have barriers to play. I need to break through too." Eric's everybody play all the time agenda. Huh? What's that?
Well, now we've got a barrier in itself, haven't we, to the current play, which is the irony.
Oh,
because we're not playing with you by discussing playing. So that is another barrier for you.
Well, those aren't barriers. Those are just toys. Those are part of the game.
All right.
Yeah. See, that's the other thing. You can hang a lantern on anything like you just did, and then to get super brighten up the room, you hang a lantern on the lantern. Like I just did.
So now we've got 3 lanterns.
Yes, we've got 3 lanterns, and they're Chinese lanterns, and we're going out for Chinese food.
Cool.
I think a problem that arises is when your version of play is not someone else's version of play.
Well, but see, I'm always down to play, right? Nobody suggests to me, "Let's play this, Eric. You come play my way." I want to. Nobody says that to me.
Unless they're into that sort of thing.
What?
Wait,
you mean... I'm sorry, I just got confused by what you said, though.
I mean, listen, it's not like this. You're right. 2 people might have different understanding of play. That's fine. But I'm very flexible. I'll play your game, whatever it is. It's like, oh, you want to go to a museum or something? Fine, I'll go do that. I don't care. I'll make it fun. I'll make it into one of my games too. I'll like bring a camera or something, you know. But nobody. But so the problem is not like, oh well, we don't. Eric, you always want me to play your way. That's not the truth. You don't even know how to ask me to play, and I'm asking you to play, and so I mean, you tell me what you want to play then. Well, Eric, we're adults. We don't play anymore. Well, that's the fucking problem. I play.
When I was like forced to, usually my play or socializing, obviously it was very difficult to find other NTPs. So when I had to like one of the only friends, well not only friends, but one of the friends I was closer to was an ENTJ. And he used to carpool and just to take everybody to these fucking random places. Yeah. That looks like play.
Right.
What types of places?
Like just
the ballet, mostly like, the ballet.
Like swimming places in the middle of the fucking woods, hiking, shit like that. And
the ballet and the post office.
I didn't go to do any of that shit. I didn't even swim. I just went to hang around and bitch. Well, not bitch, but just like.
It was just a non-stop round trip between the ballet and the post office.
Yeah, and then when I was around NTPs, it was mostly like if we was in a classroom or something. My favorite place, we had this teacher that didn't give a shit, literally did not care at all. And me and the NTP friend were in there, and me and him would just sit in the back of the class and just talk the whole fucking period, and it was the greatest time.
Was it a public school?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Other thoughts on this topic of play. Now, a lot of people express to me the following thing, especially INTPs. Basically, they say, well, my problem is I play too much. I play too many video games. I don't do anything productive. Blah, blah, blah. Well, I mean, I think the answer to that is there's got to be something that could be remotely deemed as productive that you think is fun besides just video games. Because if you just play video games all the time, I've done in parts of my life, then you really don't get anything done.
That's all the INTV friend I knew. That's all he does is play video games. All he fucking does.
Well, you guys are the right age for it. You got a couple of years of that, but hopefully you find something creative to do. I don't know what else to... It's the only thing I know how to talk about, really, because it's the only thing I do, really.
And like I remember, basically it was just like I would walk into the class, and our fun would be would be talking about basically listening to what generally what the S-types in the room were talking about, and we would just sit back there and just pick it apart and talk about it and associate it with more abstract theories and ideas. Try to identify
but
status.
I've got a question. Could you believe what Jenny told Julie?
Huh?
Could you believe what Jenny told Julie?
I probably could.
Okay, well, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. Oh my God, did you hear what Jenny told Julie?
Dude, me and him were sitting back, and this is usually all we'd argue about.
What?
Was
Hey,
somebody...
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I was about to end this video. Sorry to interrupt, Trenton, but Mega Bro, what quirk code is that, real quick? Oh my God, Julie, could you believe it? Did you hear what Jenny told Julie? She is so awful. I totally hate her. She is so fake. What's that?
Oh.
Is that FETI? SE? I don't know. Or like, what's this thing? Where like two girls are texting and they know on text, okay? They know on text because they've been communicating, but they haven't seen each other. And then they round the corner and they see each other and they go, ah! And they run up to each other like this. Ah! I know! What's that?
SEFI? SIFI? I don't know.
It's like they've been chatting about Jeremy on their phone, right? And then when they finally see each other, they just both freak out because they have both heard the news. FESI, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. FESIF.
That's me.
FESIFE. First, you're like, oh my God, I'm so excited about these other people's feelings that are in the mix here. Then you're like, and Julie knows about it too. And there she is.
But what if the other person's excited first without the influence of the other person getting excited?
Well, see, women have a unique capacity to do these things at the exact same time. If that happens, that phenomenon, when it happens, it's known to defy all laws of quantum physics. It happens exactly concurrently when women do that thing. They go. Neither of them ever goes first. That's the miracle. Any other thoughts on that?
On what?
On whatever we're talking about? I don't know what we're talking about. We're talking about, barriers to play. Barriers to play, and then I got a little sidetracked into this quirk code. One barrier to play is some games require other people. And other people's schedules get in the way, right? So this is one thing I like about this kind of play, where I can get people to come play with me, but I don't have to impose. I just say, I'm available for playing, and then people can come if they want, right? That's much easier on my soul than dealing with the gauntlet of always wanting to play more than other people and always having to be like the fifth person on my friend list here to see if they want to play. I've been rejected 4 times now. Eric, I'm going to Fresno this weekend. No, I don't remember you were going to Fresno, Dave. Sorry. You're 45 years old, for God's sake, man. Like that shit. No, fuck you. You're not that old. My friend Dave, he's a SI dom and he wants to settle into old age. I'm like, no, dude, stop it. You're not about to die. Just
What type do you think would be easiest for all types to play with?
ENTPs. We're easy to play with.
I have a problem playing with some people. My usual choice of socialization is saying, what are your closest held values, and let's talk about them.
Yeah. JC, what were you going to say? I'm saying for other types, it might be easy to hang out with an ENTP. For other ENTPs, probably is not the best type. But what are you going to say, JC?
I said every EP is easy to play with.
That's true. They're friendly, right? We're friendly peoples.
Yeah.
You can approach an EP and start up a conversation, and they'd be happy to talk to you, probably. At least ENTP, ENFP. JC's validating this for ESFP. So what's the other one?
ESTP.
ESTP.
Right. Yeah, they're a little less approachable, I think.
They're scary. They scare me.
I think they're more focused on things than people.
If you just take all the
they also have
the intellectual capacity that ENTPs have, and you place it inside of someone in their sensory environment, that just seems scary to me. I don't know.
No, because they also have FE third, just like you guys. And
they usually when people use their third function, it's in accordance with their dominant function. What I found. And so usually I'm using NE and FE simultaneously, and the ESTP are using SC FE simultaneously. So it just usually results in them being a little bit cold and calculating with their social maneuvering.
But they're never going to step on our toes, Trenton. That's the thing. They're not directing their intelligence or their FE towards anything interesting. So we get along with them fine. We get along with them fine. They have nothing. They're not saying anything we want to fight with, because they're talking about their car or they're
not saying anything that we want to fight with. That doesn't interest me.
I mean, well, again, because I don't know. My dad, I think he might be an ESTP, but he might be an ENTP. I know he's an ETP, and like he likes to debate, but then he also has like all these like sensory, like kind of stereotypical dad things that he does. Like he loves to cook and like grilling and like barbecuing, and then like he's a freaking handyman, so like he's always fixing crap, like painting the wall.
Does he do it well?
Yeah, like that's his job.
That's not an ENTP. The ENTPs are not handymen.
Well,
okay, well he argues like he's a freaking ENTP.
He could easily be. Listen,
yes, I think he's STP though, but I don't know.
I mean, he could be an ENTP, because the thing is, the older the person is, the less likely they are to represent exactly their type, I think, because old people the older you are, the more you got beaten down when you were younger. Kids these days are generally treated a lot better than they were when I was a kid or when my dad was a kid, you know. And so like an older ENTP who's been beaten down a lot will have found a way to figure it out, you know. If it means being a handyman, like I'm pretty handy at certain things, the ones that I've learned how to do. If that were my attention trying to get good at that, I can understand wanting to get good at that. I can understand taking satisfaction in getting good at that. Although I'm a particularly non-visual one, so I'm particularly bad at it. But I do learn some things. I can hang shit now straight. When Candace
look at the background.
Yeah, right.
Right.
But when Candace first came over to my house the first time, she told me this a while after we started dating for a while. She said, I was appalled because your shelves were upside down. I was like, what do you mean? And she said, well, remember those L brackets? They're supposed to go underneath it, Eric. The shelf goes like this on top of it, or like this. It's not supposed to be like this, where you put the bracket on top of the piece of wood. And I was like, they're not supposed to be like that? No, Eric. That's the most stupidest thing I've ever seen anybody do in my life. I was like, well, it seemed like, wow, the L, you attach the L to the board. I don't know. But now when I hang them up, I know how to do it. So you can learn that shit. That's the point. Was your dad always good at that stuff?
Was he what?
Was he always good at that stuff?
I don't know. Like when he was younger, I have no idea.
You should
But,
ask him.
I mean,
Ask him if it was a tough learning curve for him to learn how to do all that handyman shit, or if it came really.
Bring him in the room right now. Let's top him.
what? My dad is not in the room. I haven't talked to him in a while, actually. Should probably call him.
JC,
Go ahead.
I think Eric might be onto something about him being more balanced and that making him hard to type. Do you think he might be like an ESFJ with a really strong ENTP side?
No, I don't think I don't. He's fighty like an ENTP. Like
Is
I
he
feel
more?
like he loves. What?
he-
Go ahead.
Is he more likely to argue against or for something?
I don't know, because I usually tune out when he's like okay, here's the scenario, like freaking Thanksgiving, everyone comes over, like little me, well, a younger version of me and my cousins running around, and freaking my older cousin and my two uncles and my father having freaking religious, political, all types of debate in the corner, and me desperately trying to ignore them. That's usually how I don't know what he argued about, or like, I don't know. They just were always political debates, always religion debates.
And you hated it so much that you started going and hanging out and talking with famous people.
No, it's not like that. Number one, I was younger. Like, it hasn't been like that for a while. And, like, the other thing is, there's just, other, like, why do that when I can be doing the million other things, like the other crazy million things that are going on in the house during a holiday? Or, like, sometimes he would, like, try to have, like, political or religious discussions with me, and I'd just be like, oh, my God. And, like, I don't know if you noticed, Eric, but when you do get into that mood, I usually totally turn off my mic, and I'll either just listen in or, like, will totally half ignore the conversation. I don't know if you've noticed, but that's generally what happens. I don't actually participate in those debates that you have.
I know you don't participate. I do know that. I do notice some people. I notice when people leave. I never know if they're leaving because I said something that they don't like or whatever. So I just basically assume. I just don't think about it. I'm like, I look.
It's not because
I just don't think about it. I do try. I do think about it in the following sense. Like, I want to make sure that if I had a really aggressive video, that I do one that's gentle thereafter. Like the next one be gentle. That's how I think about it. It's like after the fact.
Yeah. All that to say, I don't know if my dad, I really think he's an EP. Like, the way he approaches people is very, like he's so funny because he's like, he'll just kind of go up to people and be like, hey, this and that, blah, 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 blah. And, like, I don't know.
Does he give unsolicited advice? Does he give unsolicited advice?
He might. I don't think he starts with that, though. I think he actually gets into conversations with people.
Right.
Like, people he has, like, he's the type of guy who will kind of be, like, at a hotel, walk outside, randomly see some guy, and just start talking to him about, I don't know, here, let me help you with your bags. I don't know.
He closes the distance too fast? Would you say he closes the distance too fast?
He might.
Yeah, ENTPs are known to do that. You know, we don't understand that you're supposed to. It's sort of like dance you're supposed to do before you act like you're a certain level of closeness with somebody or something like that. But that level of FE is just too detailed for me to think about. I don't have time to think about that shit. So I'm just like, I'll just be super friendly with everybody and hope for the best.
Right. And then, like, he overindulges. He's had his drug problems. So I don't know. I'm like, is that SE?
Well, that's both. That's both ESTP and ENTP. But
right.
so we can't tell anything from that. I would say the fact that he wants to go up and talk to people a lot. ESTPs aren't huge talkers. They and when they are talking, they're talking about really concrete things. If your dad's like interested in learning about the other person and stuff like that, and like talking about ideas, then I think he's probably not an ESTP. ESTPs, to the extent that he want to go up and talk to somebody, would be like, "Hey, nice bike, man. What is that, 900? That's rad." Yeah, I got a 750.
I think you're stereotyping them too bad.
Okay, fine, but look, they're not going to be talking. the thing is, there's a real difference between what they want to talk about, which is it's not just cars, but it's going to be like, I went here, I did this. This is the program I'm entered. This is how the time I'm putting into it so far. This is when I expect to be done with it. This is my plan for this thing, or this is what we should do. We should organize this outing to go do this thing, or talking about an outing you already had, or something like that, right? What they aren't talking about is abstract ideas, and they consider it. I can see their eyes glaze over. They try to talk about conceptual shit, but if it doesn't have practical application, they consider it not that they can't do it. They consider it a waste of time.
Oh, okay. One thing I want to add. Like I said, I think your dominant function and your tertiary function do act in accordance with each other in that an ESTP would walk up to somebody using SEFE and talk about, let's say, the more concrete interest the individual might have, and using FE to say, what are you interested in? And I'm going to discuss it on a very concrete level, basically. But an ENTP would walk up to somebody and try to understand basically the most abstract ideas the individual governs themselves with, and they're going to try to flesh it out and discuss it and use it as an experience where both individuals can learn more. But ESTP, it looks more like small talk generally. But it's like when my ESTP father gets around me, he'll try to kind of like mirror my interest, and I can tell he's not really interested, because when we get started on with shit, it's like abstract. He'll just be like, yeah, I know what you're saying, yeah.
They talk about events and objects. Events
I really
and objects. They like to talk about events and objects and systems that are closed. Closed systems, events, and objects. They don't like talking about open systems, and they don't like talking about random philosophy shit. They don't like talking about religion and politics. If they have political opinion, it's going to be straightforward, and they're going to know what it is.
Here, I'll give you an example of what an ESTP will do while they would talk about something political or religious. The only time I've ever seen an ESTP talk about those things is like this. I was in a classroom, and there was one ESTP in the room, and let's say there's 10 people in the classroom. There's 6 people on the side of Christianity and 4 people on the side of atheism, for example, just for this matter of this. The ESTP, they are wanting to join in the conversation so bad, and they'll just jump in on whoever's side is winning just to argue with them. And they'll just basically mirror the argument of the winning side against the other. And that's how they work, the ESTPs, in the social settings. They'll basically just join in with whoever's winning. That's why they're the athletes and all stuff, because they're trying their hardest to climb up the social status ladder. And inevitably, you're going to find them being jock douchebags, stuff like that. They're not all bad. They're not bad.
No, I don't have any problem with them. I have zero problem with the ESTPs. I don't know many. I know Nick, my drummer, and I know YouTube personality from his videos only, EJR&D. And he was super insightful about the cognitive function stuff. I gotta say, like, when I watched a couple of his videos before he took them down, and he's the one I got the idea that, or the term, and I immediately was like, well, of course we are, and that's totally right on the money, that ENTPs are analogical. We think in analogies as our default mechanism. So,
well, you guys have me thinking my dad's an ENTP.
Yeah, I think so. If you're talking about religion and politics, probably.
Unless the situation,
About that stuff.
they wouldn't do it on their own time, basically.
Right. Yeah, okay, I guess more like me. I think the handyman stuff, he does like the handyman stuff, but I think it also has to do with, like, I think that's what he grew up around. Like, my grandfather was like that too, and I think that's what he grew up with.
How old is he?
My dad, 63, 60 something, early 60s.
Okay, well, I mean, there's the other thing is there may have been situational limits on his ceiling of ambition, given his age. It's possible.
Giving his drugs.
Well, it didn't stop me.
One interesting thing about ESTPs is they will literally adjust to any social environment they're in. My dad, when he would go to jail, after about a month of being in jail, he would almost be comfortable. Like he completely adjusted his SE and TI and made sense of his sensory environment to the point where he just didn't give a shit. I'm in jail. This is fun.
I wonder what percentage of inmates are ESTPs.
Probably a large amount.
And I bet there's a lot of ENTPs in there too. But they managed to get. But they're in some sort of like white collar federal prison. They've talked their way into prison light. Look, Judge. Okay, send me to prison. I'm not gonna do well over there. Why don't you go ahead, put me in the wimpy guy prison, okay? The judge is like, all right, fine.
What would an ENTP even go to prison for? What would we go to prison for?
Like,
Fighting with a police officer trying to arrest him or give him.
That's true. I think I would go to jail for that.
tax evasion. Tax evasion.
Contempt of court.
I mean, anything that we don't think ought to be illegal, we have no respect for that law. In fact, I've often stated I think it's my duty to actively break laws I don't agree with, even if there's no reason to.
I had to learn to do that much more efficiently because, like in high school, it got to the point where I just had to say, is me doing this worth it? Regardless of whether or not this is a valid rule or not,
Well, there's always the reality that I'm only going to break those laws that I, one, don't agree with, and two, think I can win the fight. So I want fights on my terms, right?
I can call that teacher a cunt. That was a fight on my terms.
Yeah, you want to pick your battles. So it's like if I'm gonna fight a legal thing, and I'm gonna choose to engage in that thing, then I'm already gonna know going in exactly what arguments I'm gonna be making in court, and how I'm gonna handle the cop situation between doing the crime and getting into court. That I already have thought that stuff out. In fact, I already have thought all that stuff out. I know exactly what's going to happen if I ever get arrested for anything, and I have different scenarios in my head for depending on what I get arrested for.
What do you think the most illegal thing you've ever done is?
I mean, it's hard to say. There's so many laws. It's hard to say what the most illegal is. The most immoral thing I did.
That sounds stupid. That would get you the most jail time if they knew you did it.
There's hopefully no law enforcement is watching this video.
Well, I'm pretty upstanding citizen. That's the thing. The laws I break, I no longer do what I used to do, which was, and what my dad still sort of does, which is when they passed the seatbelt law in California, my dad was furious, and he went out and he got a clamp, and he clamped the seatbelt so that it doesn't work, but it still goes across his chest. Now, what I did was I just stopped wearing my seatbelt when they passed the seatbelt law. And then, like when I went on vacation to Oregon, when we went into Oregon and we pulled up next to a cop, Brian, the guy who was driving, my friend Brian, he's like, is there a seatbelt law in Oregon? And the cop's like, no, but you really should wear it. And he took his seatbelt off, Brian did, and I put mine on. Because I had been not wearing it in California in defiance of the seatbelt law. This is the sort of environment my dad raised me in. It was like, we're going to be needlessly and pointlessly stubborn about shit. That's the Strauss way.
Oh my god.
Yeah. What were we talking about?
I have no idea.
Barriers to fun.
Start talking about ESTPs.
Oh yeah, ESTPs.
Oh, but we were talking about something.
Which says would be good at knock on door and run. Is that what that's called? I believe it's called Ding Dong Ditch. It's not called
ESTPs.
knock on door and run. Hello.
Hey, so I spent like 15 of my own dollars. If you want to write me like a $15 check, because it was like $30 total, $15 of my stuff. If you can, don't worry about it.
I can. I just have to get my checkbook. I'll get to you this evening. I just don't want to do it this second. Okay. Right. Knock on door and run.
ESTPs.
Callum, are you from Eastern Europe or something? You seem like an Eastern Europe orphan child, newly in America. And in America, they play game. Knock on door and run. It's called Ding Dong Ditch. Okay, thanks for watching.
Oh my
Podcast,
God.
people.